Hey guys, so we are going to start our first part of a three-part series on Chinese politics. So you have taken your ancient China test on geography, religion, and achievement. We're going to move now into doing politics, economics, and social structure. And then you will take your test at the end, just like you did with this one. Some things about politics, there are a lot, especially in this particular section, there are a lot of Chinese words. And I've tried to go through and write pronunciations down so I can say them as close to the actual Chinese as possible, but I do not speak Chinese, so kind of bear with me a little bit as I fumble my way through some Chinese. I have my iPad down here, like I did last time, so I have my iPad where I'm going to be able to scroll, so if you see me looking down, it's because I'm writing for you. Hopefully this will work out pretty well for us. I have all the notes on here for politics, economics, and social structure, along with our checkpoints, so we know when we need to stop, when we can move on, and things like that. Like I said, this is a three-part series. We're going to look at a part of it today, kind of like the overview of the dynasties in China. We're going to look at the first Chinese dynasty, or one of the, I shouldn't say the first, because it wasn't the first. It was one of the first prominent ones. Tomorrow we will look at two more of them, and then on the next day, whenever we do this again, so I'm thinking today is what? Today is Thursday, so Monday we'll do part 2, Tuesday will be part 3. We will finish up politics with the last major dynasty that we see in there. So kind of bear with me a little bit here as we get through this. Hopefully I don't butcher too much Chinese. Here we go. Chinese politics. So, ancient China's political system was dominated by a series of dynasties. A dynasty is a family that rules a country. Oh, A is already there. Oops, sorry. A country for a long period of time. Dynasties, you could consider like monarchies, like kings and queens. They have a dynasty too. It's just you don't call them dynasties as much. You call them monarchies. The other thing here at the dynasty is that it doesn't go down, the power doesn't go quite the same as it would in a monarchy. In a monarchy, it talks about how power is passed from father to son to relations along those lines. In a dynasty, it doesn't always pass that way. It could pass to a sibling, it could pass to an uncle. Power can kind of pass around a little bit more, which is what makes it different than a monarchy. But they are very similar. Now, the head of the family is known as the emperor. The head of the family is known as the emperor. Remember, at any time during this video, you can pause it if you need to. If I'm moving too quickly for you, you can pause and then resume once you have things written in. When the current leader dies, another member, takes over. Another member of the family. Maybe I should add that part. Another member, of the family. Another member of the family takes over. Wow, that's really bad handwriting. When a new family takes over, so let's say that a family is conquered by, and you're going to see this a lot when we talk about dynasties here, families are conquered by other families, power kind of shifts hands. When a new family takes over, a new dynasty begins. Sorry, I have like no room on these lines. I needed to leave myself some more room. That's really not great. So we're going to look at 4 dynasties. There were lots of dynasties throughout ancient China. We're going to look at just 4 of them. Why is this not erasing? Erase. There we go. Well, that doesn't want to erase it there. That's cool. So we're going to look at 4. There we go. That was a pain. We're going to look at 4 dynasties. 4 of them. Woo! Okay. We're going to start with the Shang Dynasty. So the Shang Dynasty, there are lots, like I said, there are lots of different dynasties that came through ancient China. The 4 that we're looking at are just the 4, I don't know, most memorable, the ones that made the most influence on ancient China. We could spend a long time looking at dynasties all the way from the very beginning of ancient China. But we're going to focus on these 4, starting with the Shang Dynasty. The Shang Dynasty ruled from 1750 BCE to 1045 BCE. Now, it's not 100% sure on how the Shang Dynasty actually started. It's thought to have started when a tribal leader by the name of Tang defeated the Hold on, let me write it first. The Xia Dynasty. In Chinese, XI is like a shi sound almost. So it's a Xia, or the Xia Dynasty. The Xia Dynasty. Like I said, do not know Chinese. Before, in this particular part of ancient China, we had not reached a part where we were calling them emperors yet. You're going to see, actually, the next dynasty that we talk about is when we first see the emperors. Or no, sorry, not the next dynasty. It's the following one, the third one, is where we see the emperor come. So we're not calling them emperors quite yet. At this point, when this dynasty was in power, they were still called kings. So the kings ruled from the capital city of Anyang, which is spelled Anyang. Anyang. The kings ruled from the capital city of Anyang. Now, you're going to see that the capital city in ancient China changes a lot throughout history. So that's why I'm including this, because I wanted you to see how it changes so much over time. Now, the Shang Dynasty is really what kind of kick-started the ancient Chinese culture that we know of today. We're going to always look at some achievements that were brought into the light during these dynasties as well. So there's going to be some common things you're going to see throughout each one. We're going to look at achievements, we're going to look at how long they ruled, their most famous leader, and then the capital city. So achievements for the Shang Dynasty: they brought the Bronze Age to China. So before this, we talked about the Bronze Age a little bit when we talked about bronze in ancient Mesopotamia. So it was this time where bronze became more widely known. The Shang Dynasty really brought the Bronze Age into power. They also greatly influenced Chinese religion. And what was the other one? Culture. So greatly influenced Chinese religion and culture as well during the Shang Dynasty. We also see the first establishment of a written language in ancient China. So they developed Chinese written language. See, if I just slow down when I'm writing, it doesn't look quite so bad, but when I get writing too quickly, it's all kinds of a mess. Now, the other common thing we're going to talk about with each one of these dynasties is how the dynasty ended. Because obviously we know that these dynasties do not continue today. So we need to ask ourselves, how did the dynasty end? What happened? Lots of different ways dynasties end. Most of the time, dynasties end in war, as is what tends to be common with a lot of ancient civilizations that are no longer around anymore. When we looked at Mesopotamia, we talked about war a lot between different cultures and stuff that were in the area of Mesopotamia. So same thing with this. The Shang Dynasty was actually conquered by the next dynasty, which is going to be a common theme here. So the Shang Dynasty was conquered by the Zhao army after soldiers in the Shang army changed sides to get away from the cruel ruler. So at the time in the Shang Dynasty, at the very end of the Shang Dynasty, there was a very cruel man that was in power. And in doing some of my research, it talked about how he was just killing people without mercy. He was torturing them. So he was strongly disliked by his people. But he was the emperor, or the king, I guess, at this point, because we don't have emperors yet. He was the king, and so they didn't overthrow him. So when this fighting broke out with the Zhao army, the soldiers changed sides because a lot of the soldiers were slaves. And so they changed sides. They defected to the Zhao army, thus boosting up the Zhao army and let them conquer then the Shang Dynasty. So we see that the cruelness of the ruler did not work out quite so well for them because it ended their particular dynasty. So this is actually where I'm going to show you a picture here. So you can kind of see, maybe it's kind of hard to tell on your screen. We have a map on the left of China today, and you can see how small the Shang Dynasty was in comparison to how large China actually is today. We're going to see that a lot of these dynasties don't completely fill out China. China has grown a lot over the years. It's been around for a very long time. So this is just a small part of China, but this is the orange spot there is where the Shang Dynasty mostly settled. And you're going to see that same area be changed as we go through each dynasty because that area just kept being taken over. On the right, we have a picture of written language. What they think would have been one of the first examples of Chinese written language that might have came out of the Shang Dynasty. It's really hard to tell with ancient artifacts like this, but it's kind of a cool picture. You can kind of see it's old, it's worn, you can see some writing on it. Just like in Mesopotamia, ancient writing for the ancient Chinese began with pictures and then eventually led into the language that we see today. So it's really kind of cool to see that as well. This is where we're going to actually stop for today. So this is kind of the last thing that you really have for social studies today. On Monday, we will pick up with politics part 2, where we will look at the Zhao dynasty and the Qin dynasty. All right, guys, I'll see you then.